Hello, my name is Kateryna Odarchenko from SIC Group, and of course today we will analyze campaign of Zohran Mamdani. Now he's mayor of New York City, and it's a lot of news about his personality, about his position, about logic of endorse him in Democratic Party. But as usual, we will analyze campaign management tools which he was using, and I also will explain some tools in canvassing, phone banking, and field part of his campaign. So let's look to his classical political ad, and if you're not New Yorker, or even if you're not living in the United States, I think for you it will be interesting to meet those candidates, which quite of iconic now. So, okay, so it's his official political ad. Let's look. So let's analyze his political ad, and let's look to archetypes which he was using here in this campaign. So first of all, it's not standard political ad. It's completely not standard, and it's plus of his campaign because he kind of was not standard anti-establishment candidate. And yes, his campaign based on left messages, or on social justice messages if you want, and which is also not very typical for United States. After this preview, we will look also on his cooperation with Ocasio-Cortez and with some other congressmen and senators. And we also can see that from one point of view, he looks like a rebellion, right? But from other part of view, he wears this national and classical for Muslim people clothes, but it's also classical type of clothes for wise men. It's very used to use also the same type of suit, but maybe black in different stories or dystopia stories where you see one wise man who run all this circles round and round. So that's why it's very interesting image, and it's completely not typical. And of course you saw here main messages from his campaign about affordable housing, about affordable childcare, which is the same as all democratic rhetorics now. And of course after shutdown and after freezing SNAP benefits, for those people who not in the United States, it's food program for people who can't afford enough food, who low income people. So that's why it's generally pretty viral and pretty well done. Let's look to other his political and visuals. I propose to you look for some endorsements, and also look how they work with message of anti-establishment, because he always pay attention that Cuomo, his main opponent from Democrat, he one more time very classical politician, and he very established politician. Also, let's look here on his type of meetings and town halls, which was a lot directly in the city, but not in planned halls. So let's look also how it was.
To honor the lives of 15,000
So one more time, he rebellion against all establishment, and of course his main opponent Cuomo. And he also, very empathic. For example, here also some fundraising. You can see also fundraising and some his charities. One more time, all video. It's just
we're just
made video. You see, it's not professional video, which we was analyzed, for example, for
we want to tell a story of who the people are.
And here it's completely very democratic.
Absolutely appreciate you being down here.
Very basic.
It's so lovely to be here.
So
this is my first campaign ever.
What prompted you to make that donation?
Of course,
We have a horrible mayor.
a lot of his efforts in fundraising. And I know that in some countries fundraising it's like not the same as in the United States, but in the United States it's also very important, like part of fundraising, where when people donate, they usually then volunteer and they're very active in campaign. So that's why here it's also one more like pretty viral video
You're a
about
great
his
candidate.
visiting
I
his
actually
donors
remember
and
pretty
their
distinctly
conversations,
what you did for the New
why
York City
they
taxi
support,
drivers. And you quite literally put your
Mamdani
body on the
and
line for workers.
Democratic.
I want,
So
and I'm
here
not
you see
sure
also
that
different
there
type of
are other
people. So as you see,
candidates who
different
want to make it
ethnicities.
nice
And as you
for
see, he also
me
pointed a lot at
and for the working class.
white Americans support him.
Grew up sort of between here and Dyker Heights.
and,
It's a
from
working class
different also
area.
levels
A lot of
income.
immigrants.
Oh, you understand also this like this issue, and of course a lot of like issues about values and about safeness. I think no, like endorsement, it's understandable, pretty understandable tool which all politicians use. Also, let's look to one more well done commercial. So it's classical mobilize step in every campaign. So in every campaign, last days, it's like mobilization and work with volunteers. Also in the United States, like Democrats from other states can do phone calls, and I also explain how we organize some this works in presidential campaign. But one more time here, a very clear message that he was like unions, he was workers, and he against billionaires. So anti-establishment message, which is very, very typical. One more time, Bernie Sanders, who support him, and endorsement, it's understandable. Here I will show to you one more video how he fight with stereotypes that he Muslim and he against like Jewish people. So for example,
As the sun goes
here
down
he,
tonight, the days of awe begin for our
do,
Jewish friends and neighbors. Yamim
video about
Noraim.
celebration of
The high holy
Jewish
days
holiday.
begin with Rosh Hashanah, when the Jewish calendar turns to the year
Because a lot of voters,
5786.
in
That
New
number
York,
alone
they do
speaks to
this.
the
So one more time, he was criticized on like anti-Semitism issues. So that's why he generally make this video to fight that he know Jewish culture, that he know Jewish voters, and so on and so forth. And also let's look to classical tool of one story of people, which Ocasio-Cortez was used, and he also uses the same tool. So here a very classical tool of using like one story of one group. So from here it's LGBTQ community, and he also like appealed to this group. He have several videos on different groups. And of course, this always work because one more time, Democrats much better in community organizing and in volunteer support. And it's interesting too that generally Republicans wasn't organized good and smart campaign, even in Virginia and in New York. So they even pay not a lot of attention to digital campaign and just use like classical PACs, and also working with pretty standard ad tool. So what do you think about like Mamdani campaign, and what other campaigns is interesting for you?